Welcome back to the rise and fall of boxing hype jobs, the series where we showcase some of boxing's biggest wasted talents while also digging up some of the more humorous media-hyped fighters that fans would like to forget about.
If I can build up Peter's record, I can cash him in on a big money fight.
Today, we'll be picking up from where we left off in part 1 by displaying some short bios on boxing's biggest hype jobs.
And all to the Prince haters, man, you're gonna have to learn to love me. So I'm gonna be in this industry for a long time. I'll be making a lot of money in the industry.
I just want to say a quick thanks for the support you guys have been showing the channel over the last few months. It's been incredible, and honestly the sole reason why I keep making videos. I appreciate it wholeheartedly. First up, we have the relatively short-lived internet-famous career of Britain's most hated bantamweight, Prince Patel.
He's a young stud like me. You've never seen that. You never met a stud in the person, in the flesh. You never met someone with that sort of power, that sort of hand speed, that brings that extra something to the game. The reason why the flyweight division is going to be talking about because of me.
If you have never heard of Patel, don't be alarmed or question your dedication to the sport. The only people that have heard of him are the followers of the YouTube boxing interview channel IFL TV.
Do you recognize that you're interviewing the great one?
It was here that Patel made a name for himself as hands down the most arrogant and cocky prospect in Britain.
Every time you guys do an interview, because they're desperate for some of that Prince Patel ratings.
With the amount he talks, you would presume he could back it up, right? Well, he is still undefeated at the time of this video's release, but hilariously already had a draw on his resume to a guy with a record of 3 wins and 5 losses. Not exactly the stuff made of the face of British boxing.
Prince Patel gets, because Prince Patel is gonna become the face of British boxing.
Everything seemed like a bit of banter at first, but then Patel was given the opportunity to feature on Box Nation's TV show, Bunce's Boxing Hour.
I'm on this show because I'm the future of this industry, Barry. Not Barry, Steve.
Steve.
But yeah, I'm the future of this industry, and I draw ratings.
Nothing seemed out of the ordinary to begin with. Patel was being an arrogant a-hole as usual, but then he lowered his standards even more by verbally attacking the former world champion, co-host Barry Jones.
You don't want to be in fights like Barry where no one wants to watch you and the crowd ain't even interested in you.
Barry had massive ratings. He brought down thousands.
But he's not remembered.
Wales to watch him fight.
He's not really remembered though as a great champion. No one goes Barry Jones. Let's talk about Barry. He's an incredible fighter. He's a forgotten champion.
But he's in the record books. He won the same title that Oscar De La Hoya won.
He won it. And
he won it on pay-per-view.
And he couldn't keep it.
The reason why. Well,
look at me.
But perhaps there's a bit of jealousy.
Perfection.
Prince will probably be watching this and thinking about those infamous ratings he likes to talk about so much, but it doesn't mean anything when the TV stations don't even want to broadcast his fights because he is impossible to work with. He now fights over in Hungary against the lowest tier competition in the world. Former heavyweight prospect David Nino Rodriguez seemed to be doing everything right while on his come-up during the late 90s and early 2000s. But 10 years later, he was still doing just that, fighting guys that you were supposed to fight in your first couple years as a pro. Because of this, Rodriguez built up a huge record of 36-0 with 34 knockouts. And what comes with a record like that? You guessed it, hype.
I'm David Rodriguez. Come see me take on Raymond Oching July 18th at Southwest University.
The hype might not be to the same level as other guys from this series, but I remember it personally, and it definitely existed amongst heavyweight boxing fans. Of course, as the series suggests, everything came crashing down once he met the first game journeyman in his career. Darnell Wilson might not have the best looking record out there, but this man could crack. His infamous KO of Emmanuel Nwodo in 2007 proves that.
Feet crossed. Oh, left hook like you cannot believe. Oh my!
If you thought that was a good KO, check out how brutal his finish of Rodriguez was.
Rodriguez has never lost. 36-0 in his career.
It's all over. This fight's over.
Wilson has knocked him out. It's over.
10 seconds left.
Darnell Wilson.
Wow.
In the final round has knocked out Rodriguez with a...
While doing some research for this video, I realized Rodriguez was actually a really nice guy. I guess he just found out his level much later than normal, and unfortunately for him, in the most brutal way possible.
36-0 in his career.
And 4 years later, Peter's 36-1.
Before he faced Tyson, he had already taken to the ring 37 times, winning 36 and most by early knockout.
The kill, and he went right after it, dropped him. 1:53 of the first round.
It was a sad sight to watch back and edit the fight footage of his career, as 99% of the opponents he faced had lost more fights than they had won. This has to be the most fabricated resume of recent times. Literally, his best opponent was Lorenzo Boyd, who had a record of 18 wins and 21 losses, and was on a 10-fight losing streak. Still, the hype got to McNeely's head, and he went into the Tyson fight truly believing he was the man to end the Tyson train.
I'm Hurricane Peter McNeely from Medfield, Mass. On Saturday night, watch me kick Tyson's ass.
The fight hilariously took place on the pay-per-view platform, and to this day still stands as the 8th most bought event in boxing history. Was it worth the money? Well, you be the judge of that.
So he's been working a great deal on his movement the past few months, and here we go! And McNeely, as advertised, comes right at Mike Tyson. Down goes McNeely! Seconds into the first round!
Stop that nonsense, because they were starting to butt heads. Oh!
Tyson with a left hook, a right hook, and down goes McNeely again!
McNeely's hurt this time, Steve.
That's it, he quit. McNeely has quit.
He didn't quit. His corner threw in the towel. He didn't quit at all. McNeely didn't quit at all. McNeely didn't quit at all. He fought his heart out.
The fight proved two things. Tyson was good enough to be competing at a much higher level, and McNeely wasn't good enough to lace a champion's gloves, let alone Tyson's. Just like in part 1, we have another story which is more sad than it is humorous.
Trust me, Audley Harrison, November the 30th, is the new heavyweight champion of the world, no doubt.
Today, he is revered for being one of the worst heavyweight contenders of recent times. But things didn't always look so bleak for the 6'6" heavyweight, Audley Harrison.
To achieve that goal was a momentous occasion.
As an amateur, he was just about as good as they come. He's an ABA Commonwealth and Olympic champion. In doing so, he beat some of the very best amateurs in the current scene. Boxing pundit Steve Bunce once said he had never seen a British boxer win an Olympic medal as convincingly as Audley did. That's a praise of its highest order. Surely, things were going to be great in the pros. Well, it started off promising.
Oh, wonderful uppercut from Harrison.
As well as that stun, Harrison. Oh, what a fight! What a punch! Massive left hand. It is over.
Things were looking cagey. I don't think many people were expecting Audley to become an ATG, but I don't think many were expecting this either.
Also a big man as well. Good shot. Great left hand from Scott.
And this.
And he hurts. And he's going to finish it here. I think he does.
And then this.
He's gone.
And then, well, you get the point. Audley's career crumbled, and his great amateur potential mounted up to nothing but a laughingstock in the pros.
His name is sort of synonymous with losing, failure. He's a joke, and I can't allow someone like that to, drag me down.
He hung the gloves up for good in 2013 after Deontay Wilder pummeled him in the first round.
Has the right hand. That's the big shot. And he goes looking for Harrison straight away. The first punch he
could make an entire video of legendary fighters' sons not filling their father's boots. There have literally been hundreds, but for me, none were quite as hyped as Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
I'm not saying that. I'd be surprised if Canelo does the job on him that the Canelo army think he's going to do.
His father, Chavez Sr., was one of the greatest champions of the last 30 years. It took 90 professional fights before he finally suffered a defeat, and during that time he went through multiple weight divisions and dominated some of the very best boxers in the world.
looking to finish Taylor off. Mills Lane steps in.
There is one
finish with a knockout.
His son also tried this technique as he built up a record of 47-0 before facing a top opponent. You can probably guess, he was then beaten, and convincingly at that.
Look at that! Martinez rips him with 8 straight shots. Blood flowing again from the nose and the mouth of Chavez Jr.
Chavez showed a lot of heart and fighting spirit in his career, but it's still a massive disappointment to the Mexican people. His father was one of, if not the greatest sporting hero in their country's history, and his son turned out to be nothing but a non-committed, non-focused hype job.
Of course, we say that, but Chavez goes down!
Chavez went on to lose again to Andrew Fonfara and Saul Canelo Alvarez, where in both cases he put up nothing short of a pathetic display.
The effort of Canelo Alvarez, and it was a very accomplished performance. He's won it by a street.
Oh, he's won it by a street, you know, and it could be a shutout. You wouldn't be shocked.
If you enjoyed this video today, please help us out by hitting that like button. Part 3 will be uploaded very soon, and if you don't want to miss it, make sure you're subscribed with the notification settings switched on. Until next time, fight fans, this is Boxing Legends TV, signing off.
36-0 in his career.
It's all over. This fight's over.